The Maple Leafs, when it comes to trades this offseason, genuinely need to be a little bit careful for how much that they give up. I really don't want this team to give up too much for an older forward that isn't going to stick around for that long or be in their prime. But before we get into that, guys, welcome back to Pixel Plus Hockey. If you do enjoy the content, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's so greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for that. But first I wanted to touch on the Kadri rumors. Now I know that a lot of people have been talking about this, but there's just a couple of concerning things around Nazem Kadri. Now when the Maple Leafs traded Nazem Kadri, I thought that he was one of the Leafs' grittier forwards, whereas that he had skill and top six talent, but he also had a lot of bite. Nazem Kadri was different than Tavares. He was different than Nylander. He was different from Matthews, and he was different than Marner. He added something to the team that was just different, and it really sucked when they got rid of him. So I can understand Maple Leafs fans' hunger to get him back on the team, and it's also very interesting with his Instagram post, Calgary to Toronto and stuff like that. I mean, I don't really know what that means. I mean, that could mean probably absolutely nothing. But there were rumors that the no trade clause would not hold him back from going to Toronto. Now there's trade rumors that Calgary isn't looking to trade Nazem Kadri, probably because it's just so hard to get a center. Like, it's really, really hard to pry a center out of anywhere. But here's the thing. If you are thinking about trading Easton Cowan for Nazem Kadri, I completely disagree with that, but you can jump in the comments. This is what I think is the most concerning thing. Easton Cowan is the closest thing that the Maple Leafs have to a blue chip prospect. He might not be a top prospect, but he's almost there, and you got to be really, really careful with possibly giving this guy away because, again, Nazem Kadri is an older player. I mean, this is a guy that has 4 years left still on his contract, and he's 34 years old. It's funny to see just how desperate a lot of Leaf fans are for what Nazem Kadri gave them. Now, it's very interesting that he was always a player that was he almost got what Steve Dangle calls red mist, right? Where he just goes crazy on the ice, which is true. But I would just not trade Easton Cowan. Even the fact that that's being floated out is absolutely a no-go to me. I think Easton Cowan is probably going to be a top 6 forward. Now, in the pursuit of a top 6 forward, the Maple Leafs have pretty much been in on everybody. They've been in on Ehlers. They've been in on Besser. Apparently, they offered Besser more money, but they didn't offer him the same term than Vancouver did. So, term is essentially what Besser wanted, apparently, so they just never got the forward. But the Leafs have swung and missed on a number of players, and now we have even more information from NHL Rumor Report and David Pagnotta. The quote goes, "I think the Leafs poked around on Jordan Kyrou. I don't think there was anything close there, but it's somebody they checked in on. Could they poke around Evan Rodriguez?" And this was on Leafs Morning Take. I personally think that they have to aim a little bit higher than Evan Rodriguez. Like, listen, don't get me wrong. I like him. He was good for the Panthers. He's good, maybe 30, 40 points, middle 6 player. But again, here's the thing. If you're not going to solve the position in terms of getting a true top 6 forward, you might as well just hold on to your cap space, right? I think according to the Puckpedia, at least have like 4.9 million or something. There's tons of ways to create cap space. You could trade Kampf, you can trade Yarncroc, you can trade a bunch of guys. You might think, oh, it's hard to trade those guys. No, it's not. You can definitely get rid of those guys somehow, some way. Look at how many horrible contracts are given out. David Kampf is a center, let's not forget. So you can create the space. My take on this is that I would rather the Maple Leafs go into the season with a roster that might be short a forward, with lines like Nyes, Matthews, Michelli, and then maybe Tavares and Nylander, and you can fill in the rest yourself, right? You don't have to solve everything right away. Brad Treliving has had an excellent summer. Tavares, Nyes, Michelli was a really good pickup. They've just had an excellent, smart, forward-thinking, and patient summer. Some of the dumbest things that you can do is in July 1st or make just a silly trade that just doesn't make sense for your franchise. I just really don't want Brad Treliving to ruin the trust that I've built up for him, because he has actually impressed me. I was never a huge Brad Treliving fan, but so far this offseason, I've been wrong. You know, it's interesting. If we talk about Jordan Kyrou, the Montreal Canadiens were in on Jordan Kyrou quite a bit. For sure they were. They were heavily in on Jordan Kyrou. Kyrou is from Toronto. Now, I believe he has a no-trade clause that has kicked in. I wonder if he would be willing to waive it to come home. Now, perhaps, Toronto guys don't want to come home as much because of the perceived, situation with Mitch Marner or whatever. I'm not saying there's a lot of validity to that. I don't particularly think that Mitch Marner was treated badly here by Leaf fans and the media necessarily, but that could be something to it. But just because he has a no trade clause that has kicked in right now, I actually think that they could still potentially get him on Toronto. This is a player that I've advocated for the Montreal Canadiens again. I think he's a perfect fit for the Canadiens, although they did get Bolduc. I think that since they got him, it actually makes more sense for the Maple Leafs to go after Kyrou. They might only have around $5 million cap space, but they can easily make space with trading a couple of players. Now, end of the video will be question of the video. What do you guys think that the Maple Leafs should do about their hole at forward? Should they be aggressive? Should they be patient? If something is there, should they just go for it? I'm kind of in between this. I'm not really exactly sure. Anyways, I am going to end this video here. If you can make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it, guys. And make sure to have a great day. Goodbye, guys.